Have you ever looked back on a relationship and thought, how did I not see it? Maybe the warning signs were obvious. Your friends noticed them. Your family tried to point them out. Maybe even a small part of you felt something wasn't quite right. Yet somehow, you stayed. Then, after the relationship ended, everything suddenly seemed clear. The excuses you once made no longer made sense. The behaviors you once overlooked became impossible to ignore. It's easy to look back and think, I should have known better. But here's the truth. Ignoring red flags doesn't necessarily mean you're naive. It doesn't mean you're weak. And it certainly doesn't mean you're unintelligent. More often than not, it means you were human, because love has a remarkable way of changing how we see people. It doesn't just affect our emotions. It influences our judgment, our expectations, and even the stories we tell ourselves. So why do intelligent, thoughtful people ignore warning signs that later seem obvious? The answer has less to do with love itself, and much more to do with how our minds work when emotions become involved. Think about the first few months of getting to know someone. Everything feels exciting. Every conversation feels meaningful. Every text message creates anticipation. You're learning new things about each other, imagining what the future might look like. And slowly, your brain begins filling in the blanks. When we don't know someone completely, our minds naturally create a picture of who we believe they are. Sometimes that picture is accurate. Other times, it's built more from hope than reality. This doesn't happen because we're trying to fool ourselves. It happens because humans naturally search for patterns and meaning. When we like someone, we often interpret their actions in the most generous way possible. If they're quiet one day, they're probably just tired. If they cancel plans, they've been really busy. If they seem emotionally distant, they've just been under a lot of stress. Each explanation feels reasonable on its own, but over time, those explanations can begin hiding patterns that deserve our attention. One of the biggest reasons people overlook red flags is because everyone makes mistakes. Healthy people make mistakes. Healthy relationships experience conflict. Nobody communicates perfectly all the time. So when something uncomfortable happens, we often ask ourselves, am I overreacting? That's actually a healthy question. The problem comes when we stop looking for patterns. A single forgotten text isn't necessarily a red flag. One disagreement doesn't define a relationship. Everyone has bad days. But when the same behavior repeats again, and again, and again, it stops being an accident. It becomes a pattern. Patterns tell us much more about someone's character than isolated moments ever can. The challenge is that when emotions are involved, patterns are much harder to recognize. Hope is one of the most beautiful parts of being human. Hope helps people rebuild after failure. Hope helps people keep going during difficult times. Hope gives relationships room to grow. But hope also has a shadow side. Sometimes, hope convinces us to wait for a version of someone that doesn't exist yet. We tell ourselves, they'll change. They just need time. They didn't mean it. This isn't who they really are. And sometimes, those things are true. People can grow. People can learn. People can become healthier. But real change doesn't happen because we imagine it. It happens because someone consistently chooses it. There's a difference between believing in someone's potential and ignoring their reality. Imagine spending months, or even years, building something. You've invested your time, your energy, your emotions, your dreams. Walking away becomes incredibly difficult, not just because you love the person, but because leaving can feel like admitting everything you invested won't lead to the future you imagined. Psychologists call this the sunk cost fallacy. It's the tendency to continue investing in something simply because we've already invested so much. It happens with businesses. It happens with hobbies. And it absolutely happens in relationships. We tell ourselves, I've already come this far. I don't want to start over. Maybe things will finally improve. Sometimes they do. But sometimes, the fear of losing what we've already invested keeps us from seeing what's happening in the present. Have you ever met someone and immediately imagined who they could become? Maybe they were incredibly kind, but emotionally unavailable. Maybe they were ambitious, but inconsistent. Maybe they had wonderful qualities, mixed with behaviors that continually caused pain. Instead of asking, "Who are they today?" many of us begin asking, "Who could they become?" Potential is exciting. Reality is often less glamorous. The danger comes when potential becomes the foundation of the relationship. Because relationships aren't built on future possibilities. They're built on present actions. It's okay to believe someone can grow, but it's equally important to ask whether they're actually choosing to. Think about someone you deeply care about. If another person criticized them, your first instinct would probably be to defend them. That's normal. Love creates loyalty. But sometimes that loyalty extends even to behaviors that deserve honest attention. We begin explaining away actions that we would immediately recognize as unhealthy if they came from a stranger. Imagine your closest friend describing a relationship where their partner constantly dismissed their feelings, avoided difficult conversations, and repeatedly broke promises. You might immediately recognize those behaviors as concerning. Now imagine those same behaviors happening in your own relationship. They're much easier to explain away, not because you're blind, but because love naturally encourages empathy. The challenge is learning the difference between compassion and making endless excuses. Have you ever noticed how friends sometimes recognize problems long before the people in the relationship do? That isn't because they're smarter. It's because they're standing outside the emotional experience. They aren't imagining a future together. They aren't emotionally invested in every conversation. They're simply observing what repeatedly happens. Distance often creates clarity. That's why trusted friends and family can sometimes notice patterns that we struggle to see ourselves. Of course, no one understands a relationship better than the two people inside it. But when several people you trust gently express the same concern, it's often worth listening with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Not because they're always right, but because they may be seeing something that love is making difficult for you to recognize. Before we go any further, it's important to make one distinction. Not every flaw is a red flag. Every person has imperfections. Every relationship has disagreements. Nobody communicates perfectly. Nobody gets everything right. A flaw is something human. Maybe someone forgets important dates. Maybe they get stressed easily. Maybe they're occasionally impatient after a difficult day. Those things don't automatically make someone unhealthy. A red flag is different. A red flag is a pattern of behavior that consistently damages trust, respect, emotional safety, or the relationship itself. For example, occasionally making a mistake is human. Repeatedly refusing to take responsibility is a pattern. Having one difficult conversation is normal. Constantly dismissing your feelings is something very different. Healthy relationships aren't built by perfect people. They're built by people who are willing to grow, communicate, and take accountability. That's why paying attention to patterns matters so much. One reason people miss warning signs is because they rarely appear all at once. If someone revealed every unhealthy behavior on the first date, very few relationships would continue. Instead, most red flags begin quietly. A broken promise here, a sarcastic comment there, a little dishonesty, a lack of consistency. Each moment seems too small to justify ending the relationship, so we overlook it. Then another moment happens, and another. Little by little, the behavior becomes normal. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as gradual normalization. When something happens slowly enough, we adapt to it. What once felt surprising eventually starts feeling expected. That's why looking at the overall pattern is far more important than judging isolated moments. One of the most confusing relationship experiences is inconsistency. Someone is incredibly loving one week, then distant the next. They make you feel incredibly important, then suddenly unavailable. They pull you close, only to push you away again. This creates emotional uncertainty, and strangely enough, our brains often become more focused on things that are unpredictable. Think about it. If someone treats you kindly every single day, you begin to expect kindness. But when affection becomes unpredictable, you start chasing it. You wonder what changed. You analyze every conversation, You work harder to get back to the moments when everything felt good. Over time, the relationship can become less about enjoying connection and more about trying to earn it. Healthy love shouldn't constantly leave you guessing where you stand. It should create a sense of stability, not confusion.